Welcome back. Pope Francis arrives at Joint Base Andrews next Tuesday. Over the past few weeks, D.C. agencies and Metro have been preparing and making plans for his arrival. Now we're getting a better picture of how his visit will affect our ability to get around. Suzanne Kennedy has the changes you can expect during the historic visit.
It will be like a July 4th, a marathon, and an inauguration all rolled into one, and it will take place over the course of 3 workdays. That's how local transportation officials are describing next week's papal visit. So Metro is gearing up, adding additional rail cars to bring the number of cars online to 978. Passengers are being urged to get Smart Trip cards and load them up with enough money to handle a round trip. Service is also being enhanced.
To increase capacity, we'll provide near rush hour service the entire day on Wednesday and through the Pope's departure on Thursday. And there will be no scheduled track work anywhere in the system.
The district's Department of Transportation says vehicle traffic will be significantly affected, with some trips taking more than an hour to an hour and a half longer than normal. 70 key intersections will be impacted, so up to 50 traffic control officers and 70 National Guard personnel could be deployed. Many key roadways will be closed as the Pope moves through the district to 6 different events. The Brookland Metro station will be a choke point on Wednesday, the day of the papal mass. It will be limited to either entry or exit only during different parts of the day. Some users of the station say they just plan to stay home.
I think it's going to be a mess. I think there's going to be a lot of people around, so probably going to have to work from home.
I'll probably basically take off though too, because it's going to be pretty chaotic.
So the most difficult point probably in all of this is going to be the Brookland Metro station. It is the smallest station on the Red Line and simply will not be able to handle the capacity of all of those people going to the papal mass. So people are being asked to do 2 things, either go to the Rhode Island Avenue station or the Fort Totten station and ride buses into Catholic University. Reporting in Northwest Washington, Suzanne Kennedy, News Channel 8.
Suzanne, thanks. And joining us now, reporter Martin DeCaro. He covers transportation for WAMU 88.5. Welcome back.
It's good to see you, Bruce.
I want to come back in a moment to the Brookland situation, because clearly that's a big part of this. But let's look at the big picture. Suzanne described this at the outset as, you know, the 4th of July and an inauguration and a third thing all rolled into one. This is going to be huge.
D.C., of course, is used to handling large events on a regular basis. By the way, there's a baseball game on Wednesday night, too.
Correct.
But we're dealing here with the most recognizable person on the planet. The Pope arrives Tuesday at 4 p.m. He leaves Thursday at 4 p.m. Road closures, detours, parking restrictions, in many cases going into effect a whole day prior to his arrival at one end in the area. Fortunately for all of us and for our sanity, pope.dc.gov is a website that the district has created that lists all of the events, all the parking restrictions, the detours, everything you need to know to save yourself the inconvenience of getting stuck somewhere.
At the briefing, it looked like there were a dozen people seated there. You and others were tweeting out pictures and substance from the event. Do you get the sense that this has been an all-hands planning? I mean, does it feel like the right people from the federal government, local government, Metro, and beyond are working together to make this as smooth as possible?
Yes, you know, it's a good point you bring up, because somebody raised a question yesterday. It seems like D.C. only started preparing for this, at least publicly, with these warnings fairly recently, while other cities have spent months and months going over it. Yes, there is coordination between the police. There has to be. There's coordination between the private sector and the government agencies. For instance, DDOT and Metro met with the Board of Trade. They met with large corporations. They met with other business groups to try to get workers to do one of 2 things: telecommute, or, and I don't know how practical this is on short notice, create business centers outside of downtown where workers can report to prevent them from having to go into downtown.
One hopes, and I frankly assume that a lot of the planning, that there's been a lot of planning for a long time, and that we're hearing about it now, because what's the point of giving people granular information 2 months out? No one remembers that. Yeah. You roll it out 4 days out, 3 days out. We'll be doing something early next week with DDOT. So the public's focus intensifies as you get closer. So it makes sense that you would do the public piece closer, not farther.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, people who drive into the district anyway on, say, I-66 are used to terrible traffic. So the last thing that you should do if you can, is stay out of your car. Try not to drive into D.C. from Virginia into the downtown area. Public transit is your best option, or telecommute. Of course, not everyone can telecommute. Now, when it comes to public transit, and you alluded to Brookland later, that's no bargain either. Metro's had a lot of problems just handling a normal rush hour. So.
And they're telling people avoid transferring.
Yes.
This surprised me. They're saying if you need to go somewhere and you're going to leave the car at home and take Metro, try to avoid transferring from one line to the other. In other words, do the best you can with, I guess, whatever line is closest, or travel maybe more than you normally would to get on a line that takes you to your destination. Don't be going blue, red, or orange, green, or whatever.
Yeah, it's just going to be so busy in some places. Metro needs 954 rail cars to run an effective rush hour. They haven't been close to that many days over the summer. Their second quarter performance results just came out. They were below on-time performance, below customer satisfaction, below fleet reliability for Metro Rail and Metro Bus. They just now returned more of their longer 8-car trains to service after a summer maintenance program. And as Suzanne alluded to in her piece, there will be 978 rail cars in service Tuesday through Thursday. And on Wednesday and Thursday, Metro hopes to run rush hour levels of service all day long. Now, this is putting a large stress on their fleet of rail cars. They only have about 1,150 available rail cars. That includes about 40 of the new 7000 series, the modern rail cars they're bringing on. So they have fewer, spare ones in the maintenance yard. They're getting any capable rail car out on the line. They've been working on this. It's really going to come down to Metro coming through for the region next week.
And of course, all this discussion of crowds is a guesstimate. We'll know when it happens. You can look at the fireworks. You can look at other big VIP type visits, and like I say, do a guesstimate. But until the people come, we just won't know. Do we think that federal workers will, by and large, stay home, or is that going to be a mixed bag?
That was mentioned in the news conference yesterday. There will be more federal workers than usual teleworking. Mostly, telework happens on Mondays and Fridays, so there's going to have to be an adjustment made to do it during the middle of the week. One more note about Brookland I wanted to get in before we wrap up. Metro, as Suzanne mentioned, it's going to be exit only in the morning before the Mass at the Basilica, midday on Wednesday. Entrance only after the Mass. So that would give the station capacity of about 9,000 riders an hour. Metro expects more than 20,000 people to pass through that station. So do the math. It could take you 2 hours or more to take the train to the Mass.
And crowding poses other problems, too. I mean, trains get stacked up. People can get anxiety or whatever. Hopefully they won't.
And one door problem on one old rail car somewhere along the parade on the tunnel was going to cause a backup.
Road issues are going to be with us as well. I know Massachusetts Avenue is going to be affected. And there are probably going to be things that sort of pop up as circumstances warrant. So driving will be no picnic. I mean, it's going to be tough.
There will be rolling road closures. Say that 75 times. I think it was 70 intersections, actually, they mentioned are going to be affected. And there is the unpredictable with this Pope. He might go off the schedule. Metro even mentioned yesterday if he decides he wants to take the train, they're ready for it. Let's hope he doesn't go on a hot car without the air conditioning. But, yeah, so I would just stay away from driving in downtown, especially Wednesday and Thursday. The Pope arrives 4 p.m. on Tuesday. He's going to be at the Vatican Embassy Wednesday and Thursday when he meets the President Tuesday morning, and then the Mass at the Basilica midday Wednesday. And then Thursday is addressing a joint session of Congress midday on Thursday before departing at 4 for New York City. Those are the days you want to stay away.
And there is a baseball game, and I think is there a concert, too? I mean, September is always a busy time. This is going to be a busy time. Local folks are going to have their hands full dealing with all this.
It's sink or swim for Metro. They've had a bad summer. They need to come through for us on Wednesday and Thursday.
We have about 40 seconds left. Is there anything we haven't talked about? I know you had just about everyone who's anyone at the briefing offering tips.
Bike share. There's going to be 3 bike share corrals to help aggregate the bikes after they've been used, because they're not going to be able to, with their usual vans, pick up the bikes and then bring them back to the original recycle them.
So they're going to be creating some bicycle docks for this event.
Yes.
And biking is a very viable alternative. The bike share. Yes. Reporter Martin DeCaro covers transportation for WAMU 88.5. We thank you as always for your time.
Thanks
so
for having
much
me.
for the information. Very practical, very good stuff. We'll step aside here. We're back though with more News Talk right after this.